Hello, I'm really, hope you had a really good holiday and you have had a happy new year. Really disappointed that we can't get together on Wednesday, the 6th of January, but we've spoken quite a bit about this possibility and I think you're ready to be able to crack on your own with this stuff. As long as we work together, we'll be fine. Okay, so we're starting a new approach, looking at the behaviourist approach. And I want to kick off with assumptions. I'm going to probably talk for around about 10 minutes. And you're going to use what you hear. You may not do it first time, but you can go back over the video and everything to fill in the first couple of pages of the assumptions handout. And any work that you do, don't forget, needs to be copied into your exercise book. And that needs to be copied into your exercise book by 5 o'clock on the day that the lesson's taken place. So let's carry on. So it's the behaviourist approach, and what we want to do is you need to understand some of the basic beliefs of the behaviourist approach. We'll look at the first assumption, and you should know and understand that. And by doing that, you should be able to tell me where you think the behaviourist approach sits on the nature-nurture debate. Does it think that behaviour comes more from internal things that we're born with and genes and all that kind of stuff, or is it more focused on the environment? And the end of the lesson task is to complete the first 2 pages of your handout and then copy them, as I said, into your electronic exercise book. Okay, so here's a quote from John Watson, known as the father of behaviorism. And he said, "Give me a dozen healthy infants, well-formed, and my own specified world to bring them up in, and I'll guarantee to take any one at random and train him to become any type of specialist I might select, a doctor, a lawyer, a merchant chief, even a beggar man or a thief, regardless of his talents, penchants, tendencies, abilities, vocations, and race of his ancestors." So Watson seems to believe that if you get a child right at the beginning, you can turn them into whatever you want to. So what does that quote from John Watson say about his approach? Do you agree? Do you think that's possible, to take anyone and turn them into anything that you want? So you need to make a couple of notes on that on the handout. Then think about some traits of your own, whether you're musical, whether you're a cyclist, whether you like climbing, whether you've got particular food interests, whether you're shy, whether you're outgoing. So write down some of those. Now, the behaviourist approach believes that we're actually born neutral with no real personality, and that everything that we do comes from the environment. So if you are sporty, that might be because you grew up in a family that's like that. If you love to read, it's because you were surrounded by books as a child. So think about those things that you've just written down in that box before, about your personal traits. Can you explain them through the environment? Can you actually say, yeah, this is, I'm like this because of who I grew up with and because of the environment that I grew up with? If you don't think that's true, what other alternative can you come up with to explain something like that? Other basic beliefs of the behaviourist approach, that it's very scientific. It says that we should study everything scientifically, which you might think is a bit difficult from the psychodynamic approach, which you're also studying at the moment. It doesn't say that we don't have thoughts and feelings, but according to the behaviourist approach, which developed after the psychodynamic approach, maybe, and it's quite important from the 20s onwards, the 1920s onwards. They thought that the thoughts and feelings may exist, but we can't measure them. And this was before a lot of the cognitive, before the cognitive approach appeared, and before we were able to do a lot of more measurements and scanning of brains and that sort of thing. Okay, so they said that thoughts and feelings maybe exist, but because we can't measure them, we can't study them. And they believe that all behavior comes from the environment, and that we're born like a blank slate. Now, the name for that assumption is tabula rasa. It's a Latin phrase that means blank slate, and the idea is that our environment kind of writes on the blank slate and fills us in, as it were. There we go. So there's my personality when I'm born, and then the environment might write in, oh, likes playing football, doesn't like cabbage, etc., etc. So they argue that newborn babies are completely neutral, and they've only got basic responses, and it's the environment that's going to mold them. Nothing is innate. When innate here means that we're not born with anything. We're not born as a funny person, or we're not born as a friendly person. All of that kind of stuff comes from the environment. So as we've clearly said, I would hope, in terms of the nature-nurture debate, it's very much on the nurture side. Everything comes from the environment. So there's no room for explaining behavior from biology or from anything that we're born with. And that kind of outlook is known as environmental determinism. It's saying that we're everything that we are is because of our environment, and we can't be any different because our environment has shaped us. So that means, in a way, we don't have any free will over our behavior because it's been done to us, if you like. It's been shaped by our environment and our experience. Let's see if you can think of any behaviors that are completely determined by your environment. Interesting question. Okay, so now you need to fill in. It may take you another go through. I'll go back over this, have a look at the textbook, and fill in the first 2 pages down to the section before we get onto the second assumption about behavior being learned through conditioning. Once you've filled that in, you then need to have a look at the summary sheet, the assumption summary sheet, and see if you can write enough on the summary sheet to be able to answer a 4-mark question, such as explain the humans are born like a blank slate assumption of the behaviorist approach. Okay, I'll let you get on with that one, and I'll go and make the next video. Thank you very much.